All right. Hello there, everybody. I see us coming online. So far, we have 7 people. I'm hoping more numbers come up. We're doing our poetry review slash hosting series of South Sudanese poets. The day before yesterday, we had Apuk, and we discussed 2 of her books, Kindred and No More Betrayals. Aleosi, I See You, Quoz, Mekayli, Lemmy, Adao. Thank you so much for coming on board. Please, if you can hear me, I need to see a thumbs up. Aja, thank you so much for coming on board. Today we're going to be reviewing, discussing, let me just say, we're going to be hosting one of my favorite artists. He's a spoken word poet, slam poet. He's a rapper. He's what you call a raptivist. And he's a very young person. And honestly, he's just a fresh breath of fresh air. He's called Ade. I first heard Ade about last year. And so far, I am one of his biggest fans, and I'm very glad to be that we're going to be hosting him today. Emmanuel, I see you. Benjamin, thank you so much. Dang, I see you. Lemmy, thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bring Ade on camera. And we're going to just keep the discussion very light until we have about 20 people, and then we will commence. All right, thank you so much. I'm seeing the love. Thank you so much for coming on board. While Ade is currently being added into the video, the first thing I'm going to do is just give you a brief as to why we're doing what we're doing. What we're doing is called the Books for South Sudan Initiative. It's an initiative that is started by my good friend Charles, aka Chico. Oh, hey there, Ade. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
The light is really very bad, yeah.
That's awful.
How are you?
So let's do this. I was just giving a brief as
Yeah.
to why we have Books for South Sudan. I think you should try to get the light in your face as
Yeah.
opposed to it being behind you.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, all
All
right.
right.
Let me
And in the meantime, I'll just do a quick
see how
intro.
I can do that.
Yeah. So Books for South Sudan is an initiative that was started by
Okay,
Benham
okay.
Charles. And Benham Charles is one of my good friends, and he was really frustrated by the lack of a public library in South Sudan. And in his attempt to promote the culture of reading, he wanted to start a library. And this is also my attempt to support a friend with a great initiative. If you have a book, old or new, and you would like to donate it, please contact him. I will leave I will tag him in this post. But there you are. I see you. How are you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I have
Oh
here
yeah.
in my hand Lemonade Love um,
Oh yeah.
by Ade. And the funny thing is, in the middle of Lemonade Love, actually, there is a spelling of Ade.
Definitely.
I know. All right, so let's just get to it. There's 17 people right now. And I think the first thing would be, how would you describe yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Like, it's a very big pleasure because you're one of the people I look up to like way too much. So, well, describing myself as a person, my real name is definitely Mandela. Best known as Ade. Ade is it's a word actually in three different countries. It's a Nigerian word. It's Ethiopian word and it's a South Sudanese word too, which means truth, like Hagiga. Yeah. So literally, like the truth. Yeah. So as a person, I'm a rapper, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm an activist. Uh, I'm a very outspoken person. I'm a student of life. I want to learn from every single thing, every single experience. I use it as an experience to learn. So it gives me this feeling of nobody, nobody who says anything. I never ignore anything that anybody says. So I'm more like I can learn anything from anybody. And I'm also a student of mental health. I'm very big. I'm very passionate about mental health because I've actually lost a lot of friends through depression. They committed suicide and stuff like that. So that kind of gave me the passion to do it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That was a brief
Well,
on
thank you so
you.
much. That was
Um,
a brief on you. Yeah.
I think what you need to do is maybe
I think what we need to do is
the echo we realized yesterday was because the
the
device you're
echo. We
using
realized yesterday
is
the
on. So
device
maybe you reduce the volume of the
is
device.
on. So maybe you reduce the volume of the device. Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm becoming an expert in this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, what I was saying was, first of all, Ade, honestly, the first time I heard you perform, I remember it was slam. It was a slam poetry. It was an open mic event for Anitaban, and you said you did my all-time favorite poem, which I don't want to steal from this show. So I'm going to have you do it at some point. The bail
Okay.
out, the who no one is going to bail us
Way
out
out
bit.
the
And I was like, who is this
nobody.
person? Who is this guy? Who is this little guy? Because you grew, like between last year and now, you've grown up a little. And it was such a breath of fresh air because, you know, most people your age are not thinking about the issues you're thinking about. And I have known you as a raptivist, as a woke poet. And then you come up with Lemonade Love, which is all about love. It's what we would call is a protest in itself, because love is not something as South Sudanese we talk about. It's not something that is expressed very openly. We're always very reserved about the connotations of love. And here you have broken down love in 100 pages. What inspired you to write this?
Oh, well, Lemonade Love, this first of all, since you yourself you've been watching me from the first time when I started performing here in Juba, you could see what type of poetry I was doing. I was actually my poetry changed in 2013. I used to write completely different type of stuff, and by then I was going through a lot of stuff. So everything I was doing was more about myself and about what I'm going through. Then later on, when the 2013 war came, I kind of got inspired from whatever I was getting because I wasn't in South Sudan by then. Then when I got back here, I found the reality is completely different. That's in 2015. So 2016 war happened when I was here, and that literally changed my whole narrative, like what I should talk about. So it disconnected me from the rest of the world. Like it disconnected me from different topics to write about. So I was more like awakening people. I was more about consoling and teaching people. So then I started slowly gaining a title that I wasn't so happy about because everybody was calling me Adi the radical poet, and so I wanted to remove that radical. Like, why am I being? I'm just being conscious. I'm just being open-minded. So I was like, how about I come up with something that is a little bit different, something that nobody would expect from me, and that was love. And it actually came about because I'm a person who grew up so much with my mom, and she's like everything that rotates around me is all her, and the love I experienced with her was completely different. So when I now found this other side of love, like in a relationship wise kind of thing, so it was kind of confusing too, like from the love I had with my mom, and then now this is another new love. So those same feelings that I was having in my head, those same things that I want to say to that girl, like that is what I wrote down. I didn't like the way they always say poets exaggerate, they come up, they're trying to make everything look fancy. So I was like, how about I just write the simplest of language, the simplest of emotion? And that's what gave me the lemonade love. If you can notice from my writing in that book, it's more like to all audiences, like a primary kid will read it and understand it. A university student will read it and understand it. So that is what brought about the lemonade love.
Absolutely. I love the simplicity of it. And the grammar is on point. Um, and the words, the weaving of the words just so beautiful. I'm calling it the Love Bible because
Yeah.
honestly, where we stand are there, writing about love is resistance in itself. I know people look at resistance on different
Yeah.
levels. People think going into the street and protesting is resistance. People think that, doing politics and talking about feminism is resistance. But if you are in a context where love is taboo, where you can't talk about intimacy and erotic fantasy and all these things, and you go ahead and defy the odds and, you know, brave, set a precedence by writing about romance and erotic fantasy and all this beautiful love stuff. It qualifies as a literary resistance. um I'm looking here at the, Ghost of Love. And I'm looking, I think maybe I want to start with Lemonade Love Letter. What's that about?
Yeah. Well, that is actually the last
Yes.
piece on the in the book.
Yes.
Uh, this is more like yeah, the way it actually, it's a poem. That's why I actually don't call it a poem. It's a note because it's something that I felt. It was more like something that came to me in one of my dreams. Like it was just me walking. So it was more like a dream to me. And then when I came back to consciousness, like the next day, I had to remember what was about this dream, what was this. So I tried to connect it in to my relationship life and stuff like that, and it kind of became metaphorical, like to the type of love that I was having and how would I communicate with this girl of mine and stuff like that. So it was more like a metaphor that came to me in a sleep, and I could relate. I could relate with it. I could connect with it to the relationship I was in, and that's how I came to write it the way it is. It was a different meaning, and this is the thing. Like the whole book was supposed to be a novel, the whole Lemonade Love book, and I kind of thought that a novel would exaggerate stuff. Like I would put in something that is not. So I put it into a poem, and at the end of the day, that was the last thing that came into my head. How do I end this book? How do I? And I had to reflect back, and that dream, I brought it back into my head, and then I tried to write it, and then tried to put it into fiction, and it came about. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever get asked, how old are you? What do you even know about love? Because I remember, when I was like, in my 20s, I felt very hard for somebody. And I remember at some point, I was like, I'm not going to talk to my parents, and I was so defiant, and now I am
Yeah.
more mellow, I would say, and I'm at the age where I realize I don't know if that was love. I probably was love in my own way, but was it really love? It's not how I define love at this age.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to know,
Yeah.
what is love to you? Because I'm sure, people look at you and they see a young man and they're like, What does he know about love? He's writing 100 pages.
Yeah. Well, uh, and that is something I actually expected. Like in when I was writing the book, you know, like how you when you write something, you ask yourself questions you think people would ask you. So that is I do that to myself a lot. Like whenever I try to do something, so I thought to myself, I was like, what would people are definitely going to be like, Ade, you know nothing about love. You're just a young guy, 22, whatever. What would you know about love? So, and that was the first thing. That's why I came up with the author's note.
Yes.
That's when I came up with that note. And yeah, so that I thought of it, I was like, there's that moment. That's what I actually felt. That moment when you are confused, you don't know what is it that you're feeling. Literally, like you cannot
Place
get this
it.
person off your head. You feel like, yeah, you.
All right. It seems like we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Remember, both Ade and I are live streaming from Juba, and the network is not as we would wish it to be. So, as he tries to come back online, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel and then have him questions, because it's rarely a chance that we have a South Sudanese author. I just want to remind everybody that this book has been trending on Amazon. It has been the third book on the erotic fantasy list in Amazon. Like, this is a book by a South Sudanese author, and if you go into the romantic books, erotic, poetry, it is standing at number 3. So that is quite an achievement, I think. And that's one of the reasons, like, I'm really very impressed. You would look at, South Sudan and look at the constraints, especially for people who live in South Sudan, and to see such amazing work coming from very such young talent is just like, it really tells of what the present holds. I don't want to talk of the future. The present is really great. He has a couple of poems so far. Um, this is 100 page. First of all, this is 100 page book, and there is a section that he's calling. He's calling it parental advisory, and um, why I think that is very important for us to read is because there, first, the language is simple, but also it's all the things that you have wanted to say in a romantic setup. It's all the things that you have been ruminating with and wanting to tell to someone special, but you didn't necessarily know or find the words. And he has just beautifully put it. One of my favorites is this poem. It's called Primal Night. Um, I'm still trying to add Ade, excuse me. Approve. Okay, so let's wait to see. The network is really bad today. Uh, but, we soldier on. All right, so I've been trying to add Ade, and it seems the network is really letting me down. Please feel free to ask questions. We have about another 10 minutes to go. Please feel free to ask questions. What would you want me to ask Ade? And then we would read it out. Please make it a point to follow Ade. He is a very conscious rapper, what we call a raptivist. He's an activist. He's a mental health advocate. And he is just very woke, very conscious. He's what we call an active citizen. And he is young. And he's one of those examples that you rarely hear about South Sudan. Most of the time you look at people his age, and the narrative is, oh, gang this or gang violence, or people who are lost and have no direction in life. And this is somebody who has already published a book that is, uh, you know, trending on Amazon. .com. So it's already on an international platform, and this is a Juba-based South Sudanese young talent. I'm trying to add him. Okay. I'm having a problem adding him back, re-adding him back. It says the connection failed. Okay, so this is part of an initiative that's called Book for South Sudan, and this initiative was kickstarted. Is the brainchild of Benham Charles on Facebook, aka Chico, my good friend, and this is part of his initiative to kind of start a mobile library. This was supposed to already have been launched, but we have not reached the targeted number of books. First of all, for the people that have continued to donate books, people who have bought new books or who have sent used books, I'm very, very grateful. We are very, very grateful. We now have a good size number of books, but we would still want more books. So please continue donating through Benham Charles. I will leave his link, I will tag him in this post once I'm done. Feel free to text him, go into his inbox and just get to know what are the best ways that you can donate. They're focal persons across the world, and you could donate through them. So while I am still adding him, and honestly the network is such a letdown, I wanted maybe to read one of his poems. It's on page 51, and this one is called Ghost of Love. It's really such a disaster. Add the network. Okay, so this Ghost of Love is, it says, every night she comes to me because every night I die. With her touch she comforts me, so I can feel anything. So I can't feel anything. No sorrow, no pain. With a kiss she gives me love, she gives me peace. Now I disappear in total darkness and lose myself to her. But without fear, hand in hand, we walk the road to ecstasy and off of this world, but do not share tears for me, and to not weep, but I'm with my ghost without misery. So this is the piece that's called The Ghost of Love, and it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite pieces by Ade. This book, Lemonade Love, is available at Yo Bookshop in Juba. It's available. You could also contact Ade directly on social media. It's also available on Amazon.com. We're going to leave the link at the end of this broadcast. So as I try to add Ade back, really a challenge. Proof. These are just some of the perks of working from Juba and, you know, not having stable internet. It's a challenge, I must admit. And even the internet I'm accessing right now is a donation, you know, by a company that chooses to remain anonymous. Otherwise, I couldn't afford to have what is perceived by Juba standards, very good internet. Okay, I think it's re-adding. All right, Ade, if you can hear me, and if you are maybe with somebody else, could you please try to contact me from somebody else's internet phone, probably, because I keep on adding you and it just jumps off completely. Okay, well, Okay, I guess I would just do like a quick sum up of this book. Um, Lemonade Love, he called it Short Love Poetry Collection. I'm calling it the Love Bible. I don't want to say for beginners because it's not for beginners, but it really makes you understand that, first of all, there is no age to love. If you look at this, anybody could have written it. It could be what, it doesn't matter what age you're from. These feelings are so genuine, and anybody who has been in love can identify with the letters in this book. Um, for somebody to fill a whole 100 pages with love is somebody with so much love. And it's really beautiful to see how this is all, it's all intimate love. It's not your everyday love of, you know, a scenery or a love of an image. It's an intimate love. It's a person to person love. And the richness of the words, and you know, the diversity of it. I you know, I write a lot about love, and most of the time it's, you know, other types of love. I always find myself falling short when it's expressing, you know, intimate love, verbally. And this is just an emotion. It's just a well of emotion, which I think every Janubi, to promote the works of our people and our authors and exceptionally young people, you need to read this book. Maybe I could just tell you a few things. Inside it, there's a piece that's called Someone Like Me. Um, and there is a piece that's called Heaven. Excuse me. And there's a letter called Lemonade Love. In his author's note, he says, um, there is a point in life that you totally start to feel different. And maybe you've not been there yet, or you just got there and you're really feeling confused. Well, I was like that the first time. When you don't have the right words to express it, when you can't trace your voice, your soul, your body, and you are uncertain about life and tomorrow, you are just living for now. This is called love. Lemonade love. Well, Ade, it's really unfortunate that the network has not been great. We could do a redo of this, or we could have you do one of your performances and share it. Uh, Please feel free to comment directly to Ade, and we will get a link on how to access this book. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we will be hosting one of our own poets, Akomian, who is the author of Save the Life, the Last Train. It has been one of the most trending hashtags in regards to South Sudan peace. And I hope to see you all tomorrow around 2 3. So thank you very much. Please contact Ade directly, and be good. Lemonade love.